there guys and gals, welcome back to Back Pocket Game Reviews. And today we're going to talk about a very important subject to me, and that is concealed carry in the state of Ohio. For those of you who don't know, I carry a concealed firearm. Yep, it's typically on my person at almost all times, outside of times where it's not legal for me to do so. So, for example, my work, which has a employees shouldn't carry policy, and almost all works typically have a policy along those lines. So, why are we talking about Ohio concealed carry today? Well, it's kind of be a more overarching topic about Ohio's stand your ground law. Ohio just recently passed a bill through the House of stand your ground. This is slightly different than what Ohio's current legislation is, because currently the way our castle doctrine and the way our self-defense currently stand are very backwards. And I'm going to kind of explain that and kind of give you guys an idea of what's currently going on and why this bill is actually somewhat important to us here in Ohio. So some of the issue comes down to, in the state of Ohio, I am required to give you the chance to retreat, or I am required to make an attempt of retreat before I can fire a shot. So if for any reason I wind up with you pointing a firearm at me and I were to shoot you, and any way that the defense for that individual, because you will be automatically guilty, you are automatically required to prove that there was no way for you out of that situation. You are guilty before you have to prove your innocence in this one. Whereas normally you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. That is how our judicial system is supposed to work in America. Unless you use a firearm for self-defense in the state of Ohio, then you are guilty until proven innocent. So if you were to draw a firearm on me, I would then have to, in court, argue why I needed to use this, and I would be treated as a murder suspect until then, and why I didn't have an opportunity to retreat. Whereas stand your ground would change it to, if you drew a firearm on me, I am fully righteously allowed to retaliate. And I do agree there have been times where stand your ground has been terribly used, specifically in two instances in Florida, like the Trayvon Martin instance, or with another individual who was yelling at a dude's wife in a car at a convenience store. The dude comes out, sees the guy yelling at his wife, shoves him, and the dude decides to fire a shot into him, killing him. I do agree in both of those instances, the stand your ground should have been contested, where the individual with the firearm really instigated it to a level it shouldn't have gone to. If you push me, I'm not going to be a little bitch about it and pull out a firearm. Sorry, I'm man enough to be able to handle that in that manner. Now, if you were to pull out a knife or a firearm, yes, we have a very different situation there. Now it's becoming my life is in danger. But you would still have to argue your life is in danger with the other law, and you would still be treated as said criminal until you have proven that that is not the case. Now it will actually fall onto the prosecution's shoulders to argue that you escalated it and shouldn't have. It didn't need to come to that. But where my issue always fell really was stand your ground in Ohio, and the place where I found it to be the biggest problem is with our castle doctrine. In the state of Ohio, the way our castle doctrine is if you break into my house, I am required to give you the chance to retreat before I fire any shots at you. Yeah, I'll let that sink in for a second. You break into my house, whether it be with the intent of harming my family or stealing my shit, I am required to give you the chance to retreat. That is also why I have I will shoot kind of phrase stickers on my windows. We're not going to go too in depth on what those say, but if you follow me on Twitter, you've seen them before. So I am warning you before you get into my house that is a possibility of happening to you, but I still could wind up in some hot water in the state of Ohio if you broke into my house with a firearm, and let's say your family wants to sue. Well, can I prove that I gave you the opportunity to retreat? Can I prove that you were there with the intent of harming my family? Maybe you were a friendly burglar who just happened to have a gun. So this is where this law kind of becomes so important with stand your ground. If you are breaking into my house, you are committing a crime against me and possibly going to harm my family, you should already know that bad could happen to you. You're forfeiting your right to my mercy the second you possibly are coming in to harm my family. So that's where this becomes kind of such an important topic. Stand your ground already exists in almost every state. If you look into it, your state probably has it, unless you're California. If you're in California, you're in illegal possession of a straw right now. Please turn in your straw. So that is where this kind of becomes such an important topic. And there's some House speakers that really talked about this bill that I do disagree with. One of them tried to say, well, if you're black, this doesn't help you. You're only hurting people that look like me. That's what she decided to say. No, this still helps anyone who is a legal gun carrier. So if you are someone who has not committed a felony and legally allowed to possess a firearm, this helps you. That simple as that. It's not like I feel that every black person that approaches me is doing so with the intent of hurting me, unless you're trying to word it that way, and then I feel you're kind of race baiting this conversation at that point. But the important part here is, you don't want to get shot, don't break into someone's house. I feel that's a pretty simple concept, and one that you should honestly fear if you are breaking into someone's house. Hey, maybe I'm about to take a 12 gauge to the chest. If you don't run at the clack of the shotgun, I guarantee you're going to run at the firing of the shotgun. So the important part here, though, is if someone breaks into your house, should you have to prove that you had the right to instigate it to that level? Because they're already breaking into your house. And in a lot of those situations, you're not going to have the time to really call out and make the decision of, hey, is this person a threat? Well, they're a threat because they're already breaking into your house. At least that's my personal opinion on that particular matter. But then there's other people who are freaking out about this saying, oh, well, now you aren't required to necessarily have your hands up and visible if you have a concealed carry permit during a stop. So for being clear here, when I am getting pulled over, and it's only happened twice since getting my concealed carry permit, I hand over both licenses. So the officer's already aware that I'm in possession of a firearm, which I wouldn't have told them if I had any intention of shooting them. I also probably wouldn't go out and legally get a concealed carry license, which I have to lawfully obtain and pay for, and obviously it's on the records under my information. If you were to search me as a cop, it's going to show up as, hey, he has a concealed carry license, if I were intending on committing harm with that concealed carry license. So, by all means, as someone with a concealed carry permit, if my hands aren't completely, and I would probably still keep mine up because I don't want the officer to feel odd, but most cops usually just thank me for handing them the ID. They're just like, thank you. Actually, every cop I've come in contact with thanks me for that. It's just simple. If I hand them both IDs, we don't have to have a conversation about it. You now know. I don't have to talk about it. We've discussed this. Conversation closed. I would still, if I were you and I did that, I would still also avoid having to reach anywhere where you could conceal a firearm. My insurance card is on my phone, so I literally just have to hand them the IDs and then here's my phone, and we're good. I don't have to reach anywhere else. So, with that being said, those are things that change, and also they won't have to put no carry zones on schools. This does not mean that all of a sudden you are allowed to carry into a school. You still are not allowed to carry in a school, by the way. But school property, the way it works is the car is still my property. So if I am driving to a school and I do carry a firearm, I can leave my firearm in the car and go into the school. It being in the car still falls under it being on my property. So there are a lot of words that are getting twisted by this particular piece of legislation, and you do also have lovely people like Mr. John Kasich who stated that they will swat this bill down and veto it. However, judging by how it passed in the House, they would be able to overturn his veto with how much backing the bill had. And I don't feel that this is a hardly pushed bill. Like a lot of people are like saying, oh, this is a rush bill. This isn't like our legalized marijuana bill here in Ohio. It's not turning into a monopoly or hurting anyone. it is doing exactly what it's stating. And something that almost every other state already does. Now, the other thing that is very interesting is in the state of Ohio, it is legal for you to get medicinal marijuana. Currently in the state of Ohio, if you do get medicinal marijuana, you have to forfeit your concealed carry license. Just a heads up. I do disagree with that as well personally. I do feel that it should be the same law as alcohol, where you shouldn't be handling your firearm if you are under the influence of marijuana. But that's neither here nor there, and that is not something I currently can detest or protest here in the state of Ohio. So, I am interested to what your guys' thoughts are. Do you agree with stand your ground? Do you feel that stand your ground is too much of a problem? Do you feel this is going to become a problem? Where do you sit with this? Obviously, I'm very much so for it to the huge extent. I do feel that judges should be willing to contest it, specifically in certain situations, like the 2 instances that I cited in Florida. But for the overarching rule, I do agree with it, because I've seen a lot of people where, oh, these 3 armed kids broke into an individual's house and they're now being sued by the grandmother because they all died. Well, if they were good kids. They were only 19 and they were so good. If they were so good, why were they breaking into a house while they were armed? Sorry, they're not good kids. Maybe it was your parenting. I would like to hear your opinions, though, down in the comments down below. I don't bash anyone else's opinion. That is kind of one thing I do love to do here on my channel, is be able to start a discussion without you feeling like someone hates you for your opinion being different. There are different opinions. That's how a democracy works, is that we discuss those difference of opinions. And I get it. A lot of people are in the mindset of opinions are like assholes. Everyone thinks everyone else's stinks and not theirs. I know my asshole stinks. Maybe my opinion does too. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a thumbs up. Also, if you want to follow me anywhere else, the links are, as always, in the description box down below. And I'll see you all soon with plenty more content coming for you.